This is Alex with Utah Sustainable Gardening. This is the limb that I identified as being sick earlier. There's part of the damage. I've cut through it, so the other part of the damage is over here. It's hard to get a good color on that because it's so dark. But I want to show you the base of the limb. This is the base right there. And you'll see that there's some odd discoloring in the center here. That's not inherently bad. That doesn't mean the tree is sick and gonna die, but it does look like it's had stress. Now as we move up, there's a cross section a little bit higher up. Again, same discoloration, but you see some more discoloration, and that's gotten deeper as it's gotten darker. That's the chemicals reacting to the air. And then I come up and look on the other side, and you'll see that there's some odd patterning and discoloration. Then you'll see a distinct color difference from side to side. You also listen. You can actually hear a little bit the difference in the water content. This side over here, there's very little water content. It's not moving fluids up or down the tree. It's fully dead tissue. Over on this side, the cells are technically dead, but they're still moving fluid up and down. They're still a part of a living system, even though they're technically dead cells. So we see that difference. And if you look around in any of these cuts I've made, we're not seeing holes. There are no insect holes. There are no indications that there was a bug chewing on this. So I'm gonna have to say that given what I see here, there's probably an infection on the limb I took out a year or two ago. It made it through the immune system and made it through to this part of the branch. It just doesn't look like there's any mechanical damage. I'm not finding anything that is definitely a sign of insect damage. I did find something that looked like a little bit of frass in one spot. I made a cut right there and there was no bug in there. There was no holes in there. So it must have been something else on the tree that gave it a bit of a powdery, mealy appearance. Frass, by the way, is the polite word for bug poop. So I'm going to say this is most likely a disease. I'm going to sterilize my equipment after I made this cut, and I'm going to use that as I look at my other trees. Similar symptoms, not as bad, and I'm just going to cut some limbs out and sterilize after that. Usually I don't feel like I have to do that with every diseased tree, but this is something I really haven't noticed to this extent on peaches this young before. I'll see this on older trees, but maybe 9-year-old tree, this is unusual. So I would still chip it and mulch it and put it in my garden, but I don't really want to make cuts in the tree with whatever problem this is with a blade that hasn't been sterilized. I will use a typical aerosol Lysol type product. I don't always use Lysol because they've got the same ingredients, and I'm kind of a cheapskate. Lysol does have a better pressurized can, I will say that much, and I forget that every time I go to buy more. There are other ways. You can fill a 5-gallon bucket and put a bleach in it. I forget the percentage on it. I'd have to check on that and dip it that way. But honestly, once your bucket gets low, you end up using a lot of bleach and a lot of water, and it's also sub-freezing out here. So it's the canned has worked better for me, and it's been more practical. So I use canned Lysol type product. If you use an off product, an off brand, make sure it's got the same contents as the can of Lysol and that it is actually truly antibiotic. The little spray stuff that you get there, I've shied away from that because it's too easy to spill in the truck. Those bottles are not as rigid as the aerosol. They don't take as much abuse. So I'd like to get away from the aerosol, but so far it's going to cause less damage. So I'm for less damage. Any questions, please post it below. I'll try and answer. If there is an answer, and sometimes there aren't, but glad to hear your input, glad to hear your comments. This is Alex with Utah Sustainable Gardening. Manana.